In the world of Murim, legends speak of people known as perfect memory holders. They are born with a memory far beyond anything ordinary people can imagine. No matter how many years pass, every moment remains crystal clear to them, as if it happened only seconds ago. Jin So-eun had exactly that kind of gift. With it, he helped Murim Alliance leader Young Soa restore every lost record of the Murim Alliance. But in the end, Young Soa repaid him with betrayal. Once Jin So-eun had served his purpose, the Alliance decided to kill him. Jin So-eun stared at him in disbelief and demanded, "Why? I've been helping you this whole time. Why are you doing this to me now?" He refused to die such a pathetic death. Young Soa only answered coldly, "Blame that memory of yours. You remember every classified file stored inside Sunghyun Pavilion, the highest secret archive of the Murim Alliance. If you ever collude with the demonic cult, the entire Murim world could be doomed. For the greater good, and for the safety of everyone under heaven, you and your memories must vanish from this world completely." Jin So-eun let out a bitter laugh. How ridiculous. The Murim Alliance lost to the demonic cult and ran all the way to the Northern Sea like stray dogs. What crisis is there even left for you to fall into? Young Soa's expression did not change. "That is none of your concern. I will lead the Murim Alliance to defeat the demonic cult and rebuild the foundation of Murim." Jin So-eun sneered, big words from people who sacrificed countless lives just to crawl to the Northern Sea. "I'm honestly curious how you plan to rebuild anything." At that moment, Jin So-eun could no longer tell which side was truly the demonic cult. The greatest regret of his life was entrusting the fate of himself and the Taeyul sect to the Murim Alliance. At the very least, his death would be decided by his own hand. Only then did Jin So-eun truly understand that having a perfect memory was not always a blessing. It meant every pain he had ever suffered would stay with him forever. Back when the war between the righteous sects and the demonic cult first erupted, a small sect like Taeyul was forcibly drafted by the Murim Alliance. But, compared to the Murim Alliance, the demonic cult was far too powerful. In the end, the Alliance fled to the Northern Sea for refuge, while Jin So-eun's junior disciples were left behind as human shields to buy them time. That was when the Murim Alliance came to Jin So-eun and ordered him to memorize all their records and martial arts manuals. They promised that once he reached the Northern Sea and restored those records, they would withdraw the disciples of Taeul's sect from the battlefield. To preserve the legacy of those bastards, Jin So-eun forced himself to memorize every single word. And what did he get in return? He was silenced like a disposable tool. If he had known this would happen, he would have gone straight to the battlefield instead. At least then, he might have saved a few more innocent lives. Filled with endless regret, Jin So-eun slowly closed his eyes. He could not understand why heaven had given him such a cruel gift. But just then, the bracelet on his wrist began to glow faintly. A second later, a blinding white light burst out from within it. If heaven truly gave him one more chance, Jin So-eun swore that he would become stronger. He would never beg anyone again. From now on, he would use his own power to protect everyone he cared about. Suddenly, a familiar voice jolted him awake. "Jin So-eun, get up already. Don't tell me you actually passed out. You useless coward. Even your junior brothers are stronger than you." Jin So-eun's heart sank. Damn this memory of his. Was he now remembering the pain too? The next instant, a wave of sharp pain dragged him fully back to reality. But the sight in front of him left Jin So-eun completely stunned. Wasn't this the training ground of Taeyul sect? And the junior brothers and sisters who should have died long ago were all standing not far away, staring at him. Seeing those familiar faces again, people he had once lost forever, tears instantly welled up in Jin So-eun's eyes. Overwhelmed with emotion, he rushed forward without a second thought. Then he pulled them tightly into his arms. There was junior sister Hong, who had died tragically on the battlefield. There was Gumpyo, the simple-minded fool who always looked a little lost. And there were all the familiar disciples of Taeul's sect. Even if this was only the final hallucination before death, Jin So-eun felt that seeing them one more time was already enough. Jin So-eun's sudden change left everyone completely confused. Did senior brother So-eun get beaten stupid or something? Just then, Jin So-eun reached out and gently pinched junior sister Hong's cheek, muttering, "Now that I look at it, you really were adorable when you were little." Then he turned to Gumpyo and laughed. "And you, Gumpyo, you used to wet the bed all the time, and I always had to wash the blankets with you." While Jin So-eun was still overwhelmed by the joy of seeing everyone again before death, a sharp voice rang out behind him. "Jin So-eun, our duel isn't over yet. Stop acting insane. If you still won't draw your sword, I'll go after your junior disciples instead." Those words wiped away Jin So-eun's good mood in an instant. He frowned. Why did this bastard have to show up in his dying hallucination too? Couldn't heaven at least let him see something nicer? The man in front of him was Gi Chelyong, the precious young master of the Gyeryong Merchant Guild, because his family had donated a huge amount of money to Taeul's sect. He had been accepted as an exception, relying on his rich and powerful father. Gi Chelyong often used sparring as an excuse to bully Jin So-eun's junior disciples. In the past, they had been afraid of losing that sponsorship, so they could only swallow their anger and take the beatings. But if this was Jin So-eun's dying dream, then he might as well beat the hell out of this bastard. Provoked? Ye Chelyong was instantly enraged. He drew his sword in fury and charged straight at Jin So-eun. The sword art he used was the Shingyong sword art, the very technique that had made Jin So-eun suffer so much in his previous life. Gi Chelyong had spent a fortune to learn it from a wandering swordsman. Back then, Jin So-eun had been able to read his opponent's moves, but he had never had the strength to dodge them, much less strike back. But compared to the killing techniques of those lunatics from the demonic cult and the advanced martial arts he had been forced to memorize in the archive, this spoiled brat's swordsmanship was laughably weak. Jin So-eun raised his sword and unleashed the first form of the Sochen blade-breaking sword art. 1/ sent Ye Chelyong coughing blood on the spot. Ye Chelyong's face filled with disbelief. He could not understand how his proud Shingyong sword art had lost to the Sochen blade-breaking sword art. Meanwhile, Jin So-eun felt unbelievably satisfied. Using the Sokyeon blade-breaking sword art to crush this bastard felt way too good. But everyone who saw it was frozen in shock. After all, the Sokyeon blade-breaking sword art was widely known as a trash sword art. Yet now, that so-called trash sword art had defeated the Shingyong sword art. If anyone heard this, they probably would not believe it. Completely humiliated, Ye Chelyong roared, "Jin So-eun, you bastard, I'll make you pay for this." But the moment he raised his sword and charged again, Ye Chelyong collapsed from exhaustion right in front of Jin So-eun. Seeing this, the junior disciples immediately burst into cheers. Senior brother So-eun is amazing, he actually won. But even now, Jin So-eun still believed he was trapped inside his final hallucination before death. Being able to beat this bastard senseless before going to hell almost made him feel like heaven had been kind to him after all. But in the next second, a heavy punch slammed straight into Jin So-eun's face. Junior sister Hong shouted in frustration, "Senior brother, snap out of it already. What if Gi Chelyong's merchant guild cuts off our funding?" But right now, Jin So-eun did not hear a single word she said, because he had suddenly realized that this might not be a dying hallucination at all. Seeing that he still looked dazed, junior sister Hong gritted her teeth. "Looks like you're still not awake. Then I'll knock you fully awake myself." That punch finally made Jin So-eun understand. Everything before his eyes was not some illusion before death. He had truly returned to the past. When Jin So-eun woke up again, he found himself lying on a sickbed inside the medicine hall. Even now, he still had not fully processed the fact that he had been reborn. What in the world was going on? The only suspicious thing was the Chongryang ring that had returned to the past with him. It was a trophy he had seized during a battle against the demonic cult. Jin So-eun remembered clearly that right before he died, the ring had suddenly released a blinding light. Could his rebirth really be because of this ring? Just then, an argument outside the door interrupted his thoughts. "Hand over that country bumpkin right now. He actually dared to injure my precious son's head. Do you people not want my sponsorship anymore?" The sect master hurriedly apologized. "I'm truly sorry. This happened because I failed to discipline him properly. But So-eun also passed out because of the duel, so please show some mercy." Hearing his own sect master being humiliated in public by the head of a mere merchant guild because of him, Jin So-eun decided that in his second life, he would never live like a coward again. This time, he would write his own fate with his own hands. After the sect master apologized again and again, Gi Am-suk finally calmed down and turned to leave. But just as he was walking away while still cursing under his breath, a figure suddenly appeared on the nearby rooftop. Looking down from above, Jin So-eun said, "I heard you were looking for me. I'm the country bumpkin you were talking about, Jin So-eun." Seeing the boy suddenly appear, Gi Am-suk snapped, "So you're the little brat who injured my Chelyong?" Jin So-eun answered without thinking, "Little brat? You're not that much older than me." The moment those words came out, not only did the people across from him freeze, even Jin So-eun himself realized something was off. He had almost forgotten that he had been reborn. Right now, he really was still just a kid. So he quickly lowered his tone and said, "Senior brother Gi and I were only sparring. A few bumps and bruises are normal in a duel. Am-suk roared. I don't care whether it was sparring or not, but you absolutely should not have hit his head. Chol-young is supposed to enter the Murim Academy in the future. If anything happens to him, can you take responsibility? Jin So-eun calmly shot back. It's not like he was the only one taking a beating. He beat more than a dozen junior disciples so badly that they couldn't get out of bed for days. Besides, if he can't even beat a warrior from a third-rate sect like me, then he should stop dreaming about entering the Murim Academy. Hearing this, Am-suk's rage boiled over. He clenched his teeth and threatened. You little bastard. If I cut off Taeil's sect sponsorship, do you think you can handle the consequences? Taeil's sect may belong under the Baekpal Peaks, but at the end of the day, it's still a bankrupt, third-rate sect. With one word from me, the Gyeongwon Merchant Guild will never work with you again. Then I'd like to see how Taeil's sect survives. The Baekpal Peaks that Gi Am-suk mentioned referred to the top 108 sects ranked under the Murim Alliance, and Taeil's sect was one of them. Even now, Jin So-eun still had no idea how Taeil's sect had managed to squeeze its way into the Baekpal Peaks. In truth, it was nothing more than a third-rate sect with an empty title. However, the Murim Alliance granted one special privilege to the sects of the Baekpal Peaks. During the Murim Academy entrance exam, each sect could recommend one disciple to enter directly through a special selection without taking the normal test. That was exactly why Gi Am-suk had sponsored Taeil's sect and shoved his son into it. He wanted that recommendation slot. Facing Gi Am-suk's aggressive threat, Jin So-eun only replied coldly, "Go ahead. As long as I'm here, Taeil's sect will never fall. But I am curious. The special selection review is less than a year away, so why did the guildmaster ignore all those other sects? Why send your precious son to a remote mountain village like ours? Don't tell me every other sect rejected him." The moment those words landed, Gi Am-suk looked as if Jin So-eun had struck a raw nerve. His eyes turned bloodshot, and his rage almost exploded. In his previous life, Jin So-eun had done everything he could to please the Gyeongwon Merchant Guild, and in the end, Tae Chelyong did enter Murim Academy through the special selection. But right after that, the Gyeongwon Merchant Guild cut off Taeil's sect sponsorship without hesitation. From that moment on, Jin So-eun understood one thing clearly. Begging others was useless. If he wanted to survive, he had to rely on his own strength. That was the lesson he had paid for with his life. Deep in the mountains, Jin So-eun arrived at a cave. Right now, there was only one thing he had to do first. He had to become stronger. But if he relied only on Taeil's sect's weak martial arts, getting stronger would be painfully slow. So he needed spiritual herbs to boost his inner energy as quickly as possible. In his previous life, Jin So-eun had happened to read the Murim Spiritual Herb Compendium. It recorded where rare herbs appeared, when they emerged, and how they could be harvested. All he had to do was follow the book and eat those herbs one by one. The problem was that the human-faced demon spider guarding this herb did not look easy to deal with. Even so, Jin So-eun had to obtain the 10,000-year fire ginseng no matter what. He tightened his grip on his sword and muttered, "Then, I'll use my Sochan's sword art to finish you in one strike." But in the very next second, the sword in his hand was ruthlessly knocked away. As expected, his current strength was still far too weak. But victory did not have to depend on martial arts alone. It also depended on this brilliant brain of his. Jin So-eun immediately used fire to ignite all the spider silk inside the cave. In an instant, the human-faced demon spider was surrounded by flames. Before long, its massive body was swallowed by the roaring fire. Perfect. The fire attack worked flawlessly. As Jin So-eun watched the cave burn, he sneered inwardly. "You dogs of Murim, from this moment on, I'm going to flip the entire martial world upside down." Murim mini lesson. According to the Murim Spiritual Herb Compendium, the 10,000-year fire ginseng can completely remold the body. It has miraculous effects on increasing inner energy and balancing yin-yang true qi. It was once discovered inside a spiritual cave, but it was guarded by a human-faced demon spider. The human-faced demon spider is a vicious beast that spits poison gas and acid. It wraps prey in webs before sucking out their bodily fluids. Its shell is extremely hard, and ordinary blades can barely scratch it. However, the webs around its body are highly flammable, making a fire ambush during feeding the best strategy. To make sure the human-faced demon spider was truly dead, Jin So-eun finished it off with one final sword strike. With that, he finally harvested the 10,000-year fire ginseng. Then Jin So-eun chewed it up on the spot and swallowed it raw. Immediately after, he activated the Taeil Heart method and began absorbing the massive medicinal power inside. However, After the 10,000-year fire ginseng was refined, the amount of inner energy it produced was pitifully small. Such a precious spiritual herb had practically been wasted by Jin So-eun. For a moment, he could not tell whether the Tae-Yul heart method was trash or whether he himself was simply too weak. His dantian was still pathetically small. If he grew at this pace, then when the coming disaster arrived, he would never be strong enough to protect Tae-Yul's sect. Once the war between the righteous factions and the demonic cult broke out, low-level warriors would become nothing more than meat shields, burned through batch after batch. If Jin So-eun wanted to save every disciple of Tae-Yul's sect, he had to become a core figure of the Murim alliance before the war began. In this chaotic era, that was the only solution he could think of. And the first step was entering Murim Academy 1 year from now. But with his current strength, passing the exam was impossible. Even after being reborn, was he still unable to change his fate? While Jin So-eun searched his mind desperately for a way out, he suddenly remembered that Gae Chel-yong had a spiritual pill from the Hwasan sect. In his previous life, Gae Am-sok had spent a massive amount of gold to buy a snow plum pill from Hwasan sect, all to make sure his son could enter Murim Academy. But one day before Gae Chel-yong was supposed to take it, the snow plum pill disappeared. The thief who stole it was never identified. Since that incident had not happened yet, Jin So-eun still had a chance. As long as a person had done something, they would always leave traces behind. Using his ability as a perfect memory holder, Jin So-eun organized every memory into rows of bookshelves inside his mind and began searching through them one by one. He compared the records from the Murim Alliance reports with the entry and exit logs from that time. Then he cross-checked them with the mission reports submitted by the major sects during that period, gathering every possible clue. After sorting and analyzing everything, the answer finally pointed to 3 people. The soul-chasing guest, Ju Jang-mok, Gu Imu of the Jumchong Five Swords, and Jang Han-gi of the Jumchong Five Swords. For the first time, Jin So-eun realized that being a walking library could actually be this useful. In that case, he would gladly take the snow plum pill for himself. Just as Jin So-eun was about to draw his sword and leave, the Chongrong ring on his hand suddenly began to glow again. While Jin So-eun was still confused, a cloud of black energy burst out from the ring. That black energy moved as if it were alive, rushing straight toward the human-faced demon spider on the ground. Then it wrapped itself around the demon spider's inner core. The energy inside the core was drawn continuously into the Chongrong ring. Once the inner core's energy had been completely absorbed, Jin So-eun suddenly felt a powerful force erupt from within his own body. He could hardly believe it. This trophy he had seized on the battlefield in his previous life actually had such an effect. Jin So-eun clenched his fist and threw one punch, shattering the stone wall in front of him. The Chongrong ring had purified the evil inner core of the human-faced demon spider, then fed that power back into Jin So-eun's body. As a result, his inner energy increased dramatically in an instant. Meanwhile, the Gi family had already purchased the spiritual pill from Hwasan sect. Gae Am-sok even held a celebration banquet for it, causing the news to spread through every street and alley. Just how precious was the snow plum pill? It was a top-tier inner energy boosting pill, second only to the Jaso pill. Even inner disciples of Hwasan sect would have a hard time getting one. But elsewhere, the only thing Hong Sayan truly cared about was Jin So-eun's whereabouts. She clenched her teeth and muttered, "Where did that damn idiot run off to? That day, I should have been the one to step forward. I'm the one who's supposed to carry Tae-Yul's sect in the future. Jin So-eun, that big idiot. Why did he have to rush out on his own?" Just then, a group of junior disciples tried to cheer Hong Saryan up. One after another, they brought out their favorite foods and offered them to their senior sister, like treasures. And so, in this whole situation, Gae Chel-yong seemed to be the only one truly suffering. Seeing these fearless little brats act like nothing had happened, Gae Chel-yong's face turned dark with anger, and he stormed off. Looking at the mountain of food in front of her, Hong Saryan sighed helplessly. "Why did you bring out all the food from the dining hall? Hurry up and take it back to eat." But these kids were sharper than they looked, and they seemed to have already seen through everything. Senior sister Hong must be thinking about senior brother Jin again. That's right. Whenever senior sister thinks about him, she gets really quiet. And she's usually the loudest one here. Hong Saryan's face flushed from their teasing, so she quickly grabbed some food and stuffed it into her mouth. "You little brats. If you don't start eating, I'm going to finish all of this myself." The junior disciples panicked at once. "Senior sister, that's so unfair. Leave some for us too." And just like that, surrounded by the noisy junior disciples, Hong Saryan's mood finally began to improve. Soon, it was time for the celebration banquet that night. Everyone at the feast was lost in laughter and celebration. None of them noticed a shadowy figure rapidly passing over their heads. A thief had succeeded and was now fleeing from the Guy family at full speed. After several quick leaps and turns, he finally confirmed that no one was chasing him and stopped to catch his breath. He burst into excited laughter. Ha ha ha, I can't believe my luck today. I actually got my hands on a famous spiritual pill from Hwasan sect. So much for the legendary secret vault of the Garyon Merchant Guild. In the end, I still stole their treasure right out from under them. But while he was busy celebrating, a dark figure appeared silently behind him. In the next instant, a flash of swordlight swept past, and the thief's head was cut off. The dark figure said coldly, "Sorry, but right now, I need this more than you do." A few days before the Snow Plum Pill was stolen, the most famous blacksmith shop in town welcomed its first customer of the day. The customer got straight to the point. "I heard your shop has everything, and you can forge whatever a person needs. Do you have any traps that can hunt humans?" Hearing that, the blacksmith owner suddenly became interested. "This is one of the best blacksmith shops in all of Happy. From ordinary rabbits to massive vicious beasts, I've got traps for everything." The customer nodded. "Then give me a few traps made for hunting vicious beasts. I need the kind that can be triggered by a single falling leaf, with enough force to tear off a beast's leg. No, wait. Better yet, I want something that can kill in one strike, with no chance of survival." Hearing Jin Soen's almost psychotic request, the owner suddenly felt that maybe he should not sell anything to this kid. Back to the present. Right after the soul-chasing guest stole the Snow Plum Pill from Hwasan sect, a man hiding in the shadows cut off his head with a single slash. The man sneered, "Now this Snow Plum Pill belongs to us. So much for the famous soul-chasing guest. He went down this easily. Today really is our lucky day." Just then, another man stepped out from the darkness and laughed. "As expected of my senior brother, you handled him that easily." These two were none other than Zhang Hangi and Gu Weimu of the Zhangcheng Five Swords. Zhang Hangi lowered his voice. "Let's deal with Gabadi first. We need everyone to think the Snow Plum Pill is still with the soul-chasing guest." Gu Weimu could not hold back his curiosity. "Before that, let me see what the Snow Plum Pill looks like." But just as the two opened the box to admire the pill, Jin So-eun's voice suddenly sounded behind them. "There's only one Snow Plum Pill here. How are the two of you planning to split it?" The sudden voice scared both men so badly that their faces changed on the spot. They spun around at once and swung their swords toward Jin So-eun, but he dodged with ease. Worse still, during that brief chaos, the Snow Plum Pill had already been snatched away by Jin So-eun. Zhang Hangi reacted first and charged straight at him with his sword raised. He roared, "You little thief! A treasure like that isn't something you're qualified to touch." But Jin So-eun had no intention of fighting them head-on. He turned and ran. As he ran, he deliberately shouted, "Is the Zhangcheng sect always this shameless? You killed one thief, and now you want to kill another?" By then, Zhang Hangi had already caught up behind him. He raised his sword and slashed down hard at Jin So-eun. But all of this was part of Jin So-eun's plan. He even gave a friendly reminder. "Here's a little warning, watch your feet." The next second, the beast trap hidden on the ground snapped shut. Jin So-eun smiled. "Congratulations, you won." A miserable scream instantly tore through the forest. Jin So-eun spread his hands. "Didn't I already tell you? Watch your feet." Zhang Hangi's face twisted from the pain as he cursed. "You despicable bastard. You call yourself a swordsman, yet you use filthy tricks like this? If you've got the guts, take off that mask and state your name." But Jin So-eun could not be bothered to answer. He simply picked up a small stone and tossed it forward. The stone landed right beside Gu Weimu's foot. In the next instant, another trap snapped shut, crushing the stone into pieces. The sight made Gu Weimu freeze in place. Jin So-eun said coldly, "Let me make this clear. Right now, I'm the master of this forest." The reason Jin So-eun had known their plan in advance was because he discovered something strange while searching through his memories. After the Snow Plum Pill was stolen, every trace of the soul-chasing guest had vanished as well. On top of that, no new rising expert had appeared afterward who seemed to have taken the Snow Plum Pill. So Jin So-eun searched through the records of every martial artist from that same period whose inner energy had improved even slightly, and he finally found the anomaly. After the soul-chasing guest was killed, his body had most likely been destroyed or secretly buried. And the reason no famous new powerhouse appeared was because the Snow Plum Pill had been split and eaten by more than one person, making each person's inner energy increase less dramatic. During that same period, the only two people whose inner energy had risen sharply at the same time were these two men from Zhongchang sect. Gu Uimu gritted his teeth and threatened, "You little thief, aren't you afraid of retaliation from Zhongchang sect and the Murim Alliance?" Jin Soen answered with a cold laugh. "I didn't know one robber could report another robber." Gu Uimu's rage exploded. He raised his fist. Then, he slammed it hard into the ground beneath him. A violent burst of force erupted, blasting every hidden beast trap nearby out of the ground. Gu Uimu said coldly, "Cheap tricks like this are useless in front of us. I suggest you surrender quietly and hand over the snow plum pill. Otherwise, we'll make you wish you were dead." But Jin Soon did not panic at all. He turned and sprinted deeper into the forest. Gu Uimu quickly warned, "Senior brother, be careful. The direction he's running in is definitely covered with traps too." John Han-gi replied coldly, "It's fine. As long as we step exactly where he stepped, we won't trigger anything." With that, the two of them chased after Jin Soon again. As time passed, they gradually closed the distance. Jang Han-gi laughed viciously. "Haha, little thief. You're not getting away this time." Seeing this, Jin Soon immediately leapt forward. He landed steadily in an open patch of ground ahead. The two men from Zhongchang sect saw him stop and assumed he had given up. Because of that carelessness, they stepped right beside Jin Soon's footprints. The next second, the traps snapped shut again. The moment they lost balance, they triggered a brutal chain reaction. Beast traps clamped onto them from head to toe, tearing their flesh into a bloody mess. Jin Soon sneered, "I thought you two were smarter than that. You actually figured out you should follow my footprints. Too bad you missed one thing. If you want to avoid triggering these traps, you have to step exactly where I stepped, not even half an inch off." John Han-gi roared in disbelief. "Impossible. With traps packed this densely, how did you avoid every single one perfectly?" Jin So-eun answered calmly, "Because I'm a perfect memory holder. This is the only gift heaven ever gave me." Meanwhile, inside an old, elegant building, two elders were drinking tea and chatting. One of them was Jegal So-myung, the chief strategist of the Murim Alliance. The other was Elder Namgung Taeyeon of the Murim Alliance. Namgung Taeyeon slowly spoke. "Chief strategist, you should know Taeil sect in Hapi, correct? That sect has already fallen into decline. Shouldn't we consider removing it from the Baekpal Peaks and replacing it with a more suitable sect? The Iron Sword sect has been growing stronger lately. They would be worth considering." Jegal So-myung replied calmly. "You should know that unless a sect of the Baekpal Peaks commits a serious mistake, it is not replaced on principle. Has Taeil sect done something wrong recently?" Namgung Taeyeon lowered his voice. "Actually, Tae-Earl sect has been using its special selection slot for monetary dealings. They are using that privilege to satisfy their greed. Ever since obtaining the Snow Plum pill, Jin So-eun had locked himself inside his room, constantly absorbing the medicinal power within the pill. That powerful energy slowly strengthened his dantian. After several days of seated cultivation, Jin So-eun finally absorbed all the medicinal power of the Snow Plum pill into his body. The result was incredible. His dantian was now even stronger than it had been in his previous life. When Jin So-eun stepped out of his room, he immediately called for the inn servant. "Cook me a few good dishes." The servant hurried over when he saw him. "Young master, you finally came out. You hadn't left your room for days. I thought something had happened to you." Jin So-eun waved him off. "Enough talk. Go get me something to eat." The servant looked troubled. "But it's already so late. The cooks have all gone off duty." Jin So-eun slapped a pile of coins onto the table. "Is this enough to bring the cook back to work?" Seeing so much money, the servant's eyes lit up at once. "That cook has no business sleeping right after nightfall. I'll go wake him up immediately." As expected, there was nothing in this world money could not solve. Fortunately, Jin So-eun had used the Changrong ring earlier to prepare plenty of coins. Through his previous experiments, Jin So-eun had discovered that the Changrong ring could absorb life energy from any living being. Then, it could convert that energy into true qi inside his body. Because of that, he used the Changrong ring to hunt tigers in the wilderness. He also sold the tiger pelts afterward and made quite a bit of money. This method of earning money was useful, but the problem was that the Changrong ring's ability was far too similar to the star-absorbing art. One careless move, and people could mistake him for a demonic cult member. That made it an extremely dangerous power. After all, Ren Wuxing's star-absorbing art was one of the 10 great taboos of the Murim world. If the Murim Alliance discovered anything, not only Jin So-eun, but the entire Taeul sect could be dragged into danger. After waiting for a while, the inn servant finally brought the dishes over. Looking at the huge table full of food, Jin So-eun was so hungry, he was practically drooling. But the servant did not leave right away. He lowered his voice and said, "Young master, have you heard? During the Gyeryong Merchant Guild's banquet, their most precious spiritual pill was stolen. I heard it even alarmed the Murim Alliance. They sent an investigation team here to track down the thief." Hearing that, Jin So-eun's heart tightened at once. If they found out it was him, he would be finished. But the servant quickly added, "Too bad the trail went cold. The investigation team has already given up." Only then did Jin So-eun secretly let out a breath of relief. Though on the surface, he still pretended to stay calm. "That really is a shame." The servant sighed. "Yeah, and because of that whole mess, we've had a lot fewer guests lately. But I heard the Iron Sword sect in Hackby is holding a banquet soon too." Those words instantly dragged up one of Jin So-eun's worst memories from his previous life. He had almost forgotten that around this time, the Iron Sword sect master was about to hold his 60th birthday banquet. In his previous life, Jin So-eun's father had knelt on the ground in front of everyone in Murim, begging the Iron Sword sect master for forgiveness. And he had done it for one reason only, to protect his useless son. In this life, Jin So-eun absolutely could not go to the Iron Sword sect again. No matter what, he would not let his father suffer that humiliation because of him. That was what he had planned. But by the time Jin So-eun came back to his senses, he was already standing at the Iron Sword sect master's birthday banquet. And worse, he was currently sparring with the Iron Sword sect master's grandson. 2 days earlier, back at Taeil sect, the junior disciples were training hard on the practice field. Meanwhile, the three brothers, Goom, Eun, and Dong, had already collapsed from exhaustion. One of them complained, "In this awful weather, we still have to keep swinging down hundreds of times? Does this even help with training?" Another immediately shot back. Who was it that kept shouting he wanted to become as strong as senior brother Jin? But seriously, where has senior brother Jin been these past few days? We haven't seen him for a whole week. Who knows what he's been doing? Don't tell me he's hiding because he beat up Dae Chul-young last time and is scared his father will take revenge. Just as the three of them were making wild guesses, the youngest, Lee Tong, suddenly shouted excitedly, "It's senior brother Jin! Senior brother Jin is back!" At the sect gate, Jin So-eun appeared, carrying a large bundle of luggage. But at that moment, his face was full of worry. All he could think about was how to avoid going to the Iron Sword sect. Better yet, he had to make sure no one from Taeil sect went at all, which meant he needed to come up with a convincing excuse. The moment the junior disciples saw Jin So-eun return, they all rushed over to welcome him. "Senior brother Jin, you're finally back. Everyone missed you." Just then, a familiar furious voice suddenly rang out. "Jin So-eun, you little brat, where the hell have you been messing around these past few days?" The man speaking was Jin So-eun's father, Jin Tae-sun, who currently served as the outer hall master of Taeil sect. This was the first time Jin So-eun had seen his father again after being reborn. His chest tightened, and he almost instinctively rushed toward him, silently thanking heaven for letting him see his father one more time. But what greeted him was a solid punch right to the head. Jin Tae-san snapped, "You brat, you think acting crazy will let you get away with this? Because of your reckless stunt, Taeil sect almost ended up on the streets." At that moment, Dae Chul-young also walked over and gritted his teeth. "Jin So-eun, you bastard, you finally came back. This time, let's fight fair and square." Seeing him, Jin So-eun immediately felt like messing with him. He deliberately widened his eyes. "Whoa, senior brother Dae, why do you look so radiant? The snow plum pill really is amazing. It actually turned you into an unmatched master overnight." Hearing that, Dae Chul-young instantly burned with rage. He whipped around and stormed off in anger. Hong Sa-ryeon asked in confusion, "Senior brother Jin, don't you know the snow plum pill was stolen?" Jin So-eun smiled. "Of course I know. That's exactly why I said it," ignoring everyone's confused looks. Jin So-eun turned and shouted to the group, "Everyone, come take a look at what your senior brother brought back." The large bundle was packed full of all kinds of delicious food. The moment the children saw so many treats, their eyes lit up with excitement. But Hong Sa-ryeon, standing off to the side, slowly darkened her expression. She said quietly, "Enough. Don't disappear like that again. The Gyeryong Merchant Guild is busy dealing with the snow plum pill incident right now, and they still have to attend the Iron Sword sect's birthday banquet. They don't have time to come bother Taeil sect. So stop trying to carry everything alone and suddenly vanish without a word." Seeing his junior sister worry about him like that, Jin So-eun's face turned slightly red. Speaking of that, Taeil sect had also received an invitation to the Iron Sword sect's birthday banquet. The sect master did not really want to go, but refusing the invitation would be improper. Jin Soon cursed inwardly. Damn it. Was there really no excuse to avoid this? Just then, Jin Tae-san spoke first. I'll go to the Iron Sword Sect's birthday banquet alone. As for you kids, stay here and don't go anywhere. Jin Soon was still wondering why things were developing differently from his previous life. Then, Lee Tong handed him a few rice cakes. Shockingly, they were snacks that the Gyeryong Merchant Guild had handed out during its banquet. Lee Tong had saved them until now so Jin Soon could taste them too. But after seeing all the better sweets Jin Soon had brought back, he seemed to think these nearly stale rice cakes should probably be thrown away. Jin Soon did not care at all. He took the rice cakes and poured them straight into his mouth. While chewing, he laughed. These rice cakes are way too good. Sorry, I accidentally ate them all. To make up for it, you can have all of my candy. Hearing that, Lee Tong became overjoyed. He immediately ran off to eat the food Jin Soon had brought back. Watching the children happily enjoy themselves, Jin Soon suddenly realized something. No matter how much he tried to avoid it, the Iron Sword Sect would find some excuse to cause trouble anyway. In that case, he might as well take the initiative and go straight to the Iron Sword Sect himself. Soon, the day of the Iron Sword Sect Master's birthday banquet arrived, and the people of Taeil Sept eventually came to the venue. However, Jun Chae-suk, who was leading the group, repeatedly warned Jin So-eun, "You absolutely cannot cause trouble. Do you understand?" Jin So-eun nodded seriously. "I definitely won't cause trouble. But what if someone tries to bully me first?" Jun Chae-suk said in a low voice. "That's exactly why I'm telling you to endure it. Leave everything to me." At that moment, Jin So-eun suddenly noticed that his father seemed off today. Ever since they arrived at the Iron Sword Sect, Jin Tae-san had been unusually gloomy. Jun Chae-suk frowned at Jin So-eun. "You little brat, are you even listening to me?" Just then, a large group of people strode toward them in a grand formation. One of them said arrogantly, "Excuse us, we have someone holding a spot for us up front." That instantly angered Jun Chae-suk. "You're bringing this many people and trying to cut the line? There's a limit to how shameless you can be. I don't care who you are, go to the back and wait like everyone else." At that moment, a young man from the group stepped forward. He cupped his hands and said, "My apologies. I am Oh Young-sa, young fortress lord of Cheonjuk Fortress." The moment the crowd heard the name Cheonjuk Fortress, they erupted into whispers. After all, Cheonjuk Fortress was one of the most famous powers in southern Ganseo. Jin So-eun recognized that bastard immediately. In his previous life, Oh Young-sa would later start hanging around with Gie Cho-young. Together, they often bullied the junior disciples of Taeul Sect. And because of the forces backing them, the Hall Masters of Taeul Sect always pretended not to see it. This time, Jin So-eun was going to show them exactly what he was capable of. So, he deliberately said, "What kind of trash fortress is Cheonjuk Fortress? Never heard of it." The moment he said that, everyone around them froze. Was this guy trying to get himself killed? As expected. Oh Yang-sa's face instantly darkened. But Jin So-eun did not care at all, and continued mocking him. "Actually, wait. I think I heard that name once in the outhouse." This time, Oh Yang-sa completely lost his temper and immediately drew the sword at his waist. He shouted furiously, "You bastard! How dare you insult Cheonjuk Fortress? I'll make you pay for that." Just as both sides were about to clash, a cool voice suddenly sounded nearby. "What is going on here? Everyone here came to attend my grandfather's birthday banquet. Please do not cause trouble here. Give the Iron Sword Sect some face." The person who appeared was Jeon Mokran, the beautiful Iron Sword of the Iron Sword Sect. In Morim, the Iron Sword Sect was a rather unusual sect. It had only existed for around 50 years. It had no direct feud with Taeul Sect. But the problem was that both sects were based in Hapbi. Taeul Sect had become the biggest obstacle to the Iron Sword Sect's expansion. On top of that, they had long coveted Taeul Sect's seat among the Baekpal Peaks. In his previous life, at the Iron Sword Sect Master's 60th birthday banquet, Jin So-eun had clashed with the Sect Master's grandson. The other side insulted Taeul Sect and challenged Jin So-eun to a duel. Even though Jin So-eun knew he could not win, he still accepted. When Jin Tae-san learned about it, he knelt in front of everyone in Morim and apologized to the Iron Sword Sect Master, all to stop the duel. In this life, if Jin So-eun did nothing, the same thing would most likely happen again. That was why he had deliberately provoked Oh Young-sa, the young fortress lord of Cheonjuk Fortress. And the commotion here successfully drew Jeon Mokran's attention. Jeon Mokran swept her gaze across the crowd and asked coldly, "Did everyone come to my grandfather's birthday banquet just to fight?" Seeing the goddess he admired appear, Oh Yang-sa immediately lost his arrogance and blushed as he said, "This is all a misunderstanding. It's all that kid's fault. But Jung Mokran cut off his excuse directly. The Iron Sword sect has no rule that allows people to cut the line in advance. Please go to the back and wait. As for the guests from Taeil sect and the Jaeron Merchant Guild, allow me to personally guide you inside as an apology. And just like that, Jin So-eun and the others followed Jung Mokran straight into the Iron Sword sect. Along the way, Jae Chil-yeon kept stepping forward, trying to flatter Jung Mokran whenever he got the chance. But Jung Mokran did not seem interested in him at all. She only gave a few brief, polite replies and said nothing more. Before long, the group arrived at the main hall where the birthday banquet was being held. As soon as they pushed the doors open, a lively banquet scene appeared before them. Sitting at the front was the Iron Sword sect master, Jung Chung-ak. The red-haired man beside him was Jung Mokran's father, Jung Ju-taek, the young sect master of the Iron Sword sect. Seeing them, Gi Am-suk and Gi Chul-yeon quickly went forward to greet them. Jung Ju-taek smiled and said, "Isn't this brother Gi?" Gi Am-suk immediately cupped his hands. "No need for such formalities. There's no need to be distant between us." The two sides quickly began chatting and laughing. But the people from Taeil sect were left completely ignored. If Jung Mokran had not stepped forward to remind him, the young sect master probably would not have bothered acknowledging Jin So-eun and the others at all. Only then did Jung Ju-taek slowly speak. "You must be Jung Chae-suk. I saw you once at a Murim Alliance meeting. As for you, Jin Tae-san, we haven't met in 20 years since that incident. Have we?" Hearing that, Jin So-eun could not help feeling curious. What exactly had happened 20 years ago? Maybe his father's strange mood today had something to do with it. But the moment Jung Ju-taek saw them, he began mocking them non-stop. He looked over the Taeil sect disciples and sneered. "Looking at your disciples, their talent and foundations don't seem impressive at all. Don't tell me these are the best students Taeil sect has. Chul-yeon has joined your Taeil sect now. With talent like his, you had better not ruin him." Hearing the man's constant insults, Jin So-eun immediately shot back. "For the young sect master of the Iron Sword sect, you sure talk like a street thug." That one sentence instantly enraged Jung Ju-taek. Jin So-eun then acted as if he had only just realized what he said, and quickly added, Sorry, I accidentally said what I was really thinking. I hope the young sect master of the Iron Sword sect can be generous and not lower himself to argue with a junior." Their exchange instantly drew the attention of everyone in the hall. Even Jung Chen-ak, the Iron Sword sect master seated above, began to look displeased. Feeling deeply humiliated in front of everyone, Jung Ju-taek finally lost his temper completely. He grabbed the cup in his hand and hurled it straight at Jin So-eun. "You ill-mannered little bastard." But in the very next second, a voice suddenly rang out from outside. "The chief strategist of the Murim Alliance has arrived at the mountain gate." Hearing that, Jung Chon-ak immediately stood up. He said in a deep voice, "What are you still standing there for? Go welcome the chief strategist." Left with no choice, Jung Ju-taek could only snort coldly at Jin So-eun before turning and leaving the hall. Once the guests heard that the Murim Alliance's chief strategist had arrived, they all rushed outside as well. Before long, only the people from Taeil's sect remained in the banquet hall. Someone whispered, "Wouldn't it look bad if Taeil's sect doesn't go greet him?" Jin So-eun replied calmly, "There are already plenty of people trying to suck up to him." Just then, Jang Chae-suk grabbed Jin So-eun by the collar. He lowered his voice and snapped, "You little bastard! Why did you talk back to the young sect master of the Iron Sword sect like that? Didn't I warn you again and again not to cause trouble? I saw everything just now. If I hadn't interrupted in time, were you planning to draw your sword?" He was clearly trying to provoke you. If you had drawn your sword there, this whole thing would have blown up. Jin So-eun asked instead, "Then what exactly happened 20 years ago? Why did all of you look so grim when that came up?" Hearing that, Jin Tae-san's expression instantly turned bleak. It was obvious that he did not want to talk about that dark piece of the past. At that moment, Jung Mokran spoke at just the right time. "Why don't we move to the inner hall and talk there? I'll guide everyone." Jung Chae-suk immediately used the chance to follow her, clearly unwilling to continue the previous topic. Guided by her, the group arrived at an inner hall. To their surprise, the Iron Sword sect had prepared rare delicacies that Taeil sect normally would never even get to see. Jung Mokran smiled and said, "Are you satisfied with this place? I prepared all of this specially for Taeil sect." The young sect master of the Iron Sword sect had two children. One was Jung Mo-kyun, known as the Blood Wolf Iron Sword. The other was the woman standing before them, Yang Mokran, known as the Beautiful Iron Sword. However, the Iron Sword sect had poured almost all of its resources into Jung Mokhyun, raising him as the future successor. As for Jung Mokran, she had only begun training inner energy at the age of 9, and yet, later on she still managed to enter Murim Academy alongside Jung Mokhyun. Jin So-eun said, "I've long heard of the Beautiful Iron Sword's reputation. Seeing you today, I can tell the rumors weren't exaggerated. But there is one thing I'd like to ask, Lady Jung. Why exactly did the Iron Sword sect invite Taeul sect here?" Jung Mokran smiled. "A banquet is simply a chance for everyone to gather and deepen the friendship between the sects." Jin So-eun replied calmly, "That's not how I see it. In history, plenty of assassinations happened at banquets." Jung Mokran's expression did not change. "Young hero Jin, you are overthinking it. Such a thing would never happen in the Iron Sword sect. I still have matters to handle, so please excuse me." Night soon fell, and the entire Iron Sword sect was swept up in the celebration. To avoid being bothered by the guests, Jung Mokran climbed onto a rooftop alone. Looking down at the lively crowd below, she muttered, "So many guests, and not a single proper hero among them. Still, that Jin So-eun from Taeul sect is rather interesting. Not only did he dare offend the young fortress lord of Cheonjuk Fortress, he even acted boldly in front of my father. I wonder if he actually has something to rely on, or if he's simply insane." While Jung Mokran was thinking, she suddenly noticed two familiar figures below. Is it that the only daughter of Taeul sect's master and Gi Chel-yong? The direction they're heading in seems to be the restaurant where my brother is holding a private banquet, but why are there only two of them? Wasn't Jin So-eun supposed to be with them? Interesting. I'll go take a look myself. At the same time, someone suddenly knocked on Jin So-eun's door. When he opened it, he found Jung Mokran standing outside. "Why is it you? What brings you here this late?" Jung Mokran, the beautiful Iron Sword herself, had come to Jin So-eun in the middle of the night, just to invite him to a banquet the Iron Sword sect was holding for the younger generation. But Jin So-eun had no interest in that kind of gathering, so he refused her by saying that the disciples of Taeul sect did not enjoy such events. Jung Mokran said, "But I just saw junior sister Hong from Taeul sect heading there. In his previous life, it was because of this night banquet that Jin So-eun had been provoked beyond endurance and clashed with Jung Mokhyun. In the end, his father and Taeul sect suffered terrible humiliation. He had originally thought that this time, he only needed to avoid the banquet. But now, it seemed he had no choice but to go. He could not leave junior sister Han alone in a place that might have been set up as a trap." Hearing him say that, Jung Mokran looked genuinely surprised. She frowned. "The Iron Sword sect invited guests here. We would never set up some kind of trap." Jin So-eun sneered. "Drop the act. Do you really think I can't see through the Iron Sword sect's little schemes?" That completely angered Jung Mokran. "The Iron Sword sect does see Taeul sect as a thorn in its side, yes. But even so, we would never stoop to something that shameless." Seeing how firm Jung Mokran was, Jin So-eun suddenly remembered what she had said during the day. In major matters, the Iron Sword sect did not allow women to participate. So Jin So-eun said, "Then let me make a prediction. At tonight's banquet, your brother Jung Mokhyun will keep provoking me, all to make Taeul sect lose face. Even if I give way again and again, he still won't let me off." After saying that, Jin So-eun turned and headed straight toward the night banquet. Meanwhile, at the night banquet, to curry favor with Jung Mokhyun, Oh Young-sa kept belittling Taeul sect in front of everyone. Hong Sa-ryun sat to the side with a dark expression, saying nothing. Seeing that she did not talk back, the others mocked Taeul sect even more recklessly. Sensing that the timing was right, Oh Yang-sa raised his cup and asked Hong Sa-ryun, "Junior sister Hong, do you think Taeul sect still deserves to remain in the Baekpal Peaks? Shouldn't you give up that seat and let stronger sects like ours take its place?" Just as Hong Sa-ryun was trapped with no good way to answer, Jin So-eun suddenly appeared and sat right between them. Jung Mokran followed him in right after. Oh Yang-sa had been acting arrogant just moments ago, but the second he saw the goddess he admired, all that arrogance vanished. Even his words started to stutter. Jin So-eun, however, turned straight to Gi Chul-young and casually ordered, "Go get me a set of tableware." Gi Chul-young immediately cursed. "You bastard. Is that how you speak to your senior brother?" Jin So-eun answered coldly. "Senior brother? The sect is being insulted, your junior sister is being humiliated, and you just sit there watching. Someone like that deserves to be called a senior brother?" The reason Hong Sa-ryun had come here was because she was afraid Jin So-eun would cause trouble if he attended, so she tried to come in his place. Hearing that, Jin So-eun felt a little guilty. How did junior sister Hong know so well that he would definitely cause trouble? Looking around, most of the people here were mocking Taeul's sect. Only 2 people remained completely indifferent. One was Namgung San, the divine awakened true dragon, eldest son of the Namgung family, and one of Anhui's hidden dragons. The other was Jung Mokyun, the blood wolf Iron Sword of the Iron Sword sect, and the host of tonight's private banquet. At that moment, Oh Yongsa came over to stir up trouble again. Well, if it isn't Jin So-eun of Taeil sect, would you be willing to answer the question I just asked junior sister Hong? Jin So-eun looked at him with a serious expression. Then, he picked up a chicken leg from the table. While taking a bite, he said, "Actually, I agree with your point. A pond needs fresh water flowing in to stay clear. But the key is that the new water has to be clean. Take Cheongjuk Fortress, for example. As one of Anhui's rising new powers, it should have entered the Baekpal Peaks long ago. But do you know why it still hasn't? Because of the Cheongjuk blood case 60 years ago. Brothers inside Cheongjuk Fortress drew blades against each other, just to fight over the fortress lord's seat. Cheongjuk Fortress is indeed powerful. But during a conflict with the demonic cult, if we had to entrust our juniors to a sect that wouldn't even spare its own brothers, anyone would feel uneasy about that, wouldn't they?" Jin So-eun's words instantly enraged Oh Yangsa. "How dare you bring up Cheongjuk Fortress's taboo here?" Just as Oh Yangsa was about to attack, a voice suddenly interrupted him. "What are you doing? Everyone here is a guest invited by the Iron Sword sect. If you dare stir up trouble here, are you looking down on us?" But, to everyone's surprise, those words were aimed at Jin So-eun. Jung Mokran frowned. "Brother, why would you say that? Cheongjuk Fortress was clearly the one provoking trouble." Jung Mokyun cut her off coldly. "Mokran, stay out of this. This matter has nothing to do with you." Seeing this, Jin So-eun slowly rose to his feet. "I see. So I'm not welcome here. My apologies. I spoke out of turn just now. We'll take our leave, so please calm your anger, young Master Jung." But just as Jin So-eun was about to leave, Jung Mokyun called out to him again. "You humiliated my guest on Iron Sword sect territory. If I let you walk away unharmed, where would the Iron Sword sect's dignity be? Therefore, I, Jung Mokyun, formally challenge you to a duel." Hearing that, Jung Mokran's expression changed at once. Everything was happening exactly as Jin So-eun had predicted. Only Jin So-eun knew that this disaster could not be avoided. The other side had been targeting Taeil sect from the very beginning. He sneered inwardly. "Fine, then watch closely. In this life, he would not let others trample over him like they had before." To protect the dignity of Taeil sect, Jin So-eun was forced to accept the duel against the Blood Wolf Iron Sword. However, the news soon reached Jin Tae-san and Jang Chae-suk, and Jin So-eun was immediately scolded by both of them. Jang Chae-suk snapped, "Jin Tae-san, are you just going to sit there and watch? Control this troublemaking son of yours." Jin So-eun said firmly, "I can handle this myself. Please trust me just this once." Hearing the determination in his voice, Jang Chae-suk could only sigh helplessly and say that he would stay out of it. As for Jin Tae-san, he remained seated in silence from beginning to end, without saying a single word. Soon, the day of the duel arrived. The thing Jin So-eun had been most worried about still happened. At the Iron Sword sect's training ground, all the guests had gathered around. People in the crowd whispered, "Did you hear? A disciple from Taeil sect insulted the Iron Sword sect." To calm the Iron Sword sect's anger, that disciple's father personally came to apologize. Seated above them were the Iron Sword sect master Jong Chol-nak and the young sect master Jong Ju-taek. Beside them sat the Murim Alliance's chief strategist, Jegal So-myung. Looking at the scene before him, Jegal So-myung already understood what was happening. This time, the Iron Sword sect was determined to push Taeul sect out of the Baekpal Peaks. Jin Tae-san lowered his head and apologized. "My son acted rudely and made a grave mistake. I sincerely beg for your forgiveness." But no matter how Jin Tae-san apologized, Jung Chanak had no intention of letting Taeul sect off. He said coldly, "Like father, like son. This suddenly reminds me of what happened 20 years ago." Just then, Jin So-eun finally arrived. Seeing his father humiliated in front of everyone, Jin So-eun's anger surged. He hated how powerless he still was at this moment. Jung Chanak looked at him and said calmly, "Jin So-eun, you finally came. For the sake of your father's sincerity, I can show you mercy. Kneel before me right now, and I will cancel this duel." But Jin So-eun drew his sword instead. "Father, I have already decided to fight him. Your apology will not change anything. Please watch closely. This time, I will not disappoint you." Jung Chanak sneered. "Big words. Then let me see what the so-called talented disciple of Taeil sect can really do. As the heir of the Iron Sword sect, Jeon Mo-kyun had absorbed most of the sect's resources. His weapon was a heavy sword, forged from black iron, the complete opposite of Taeil sect's light and swift sword style. If Jin So-eun wanted to win, he had to suppress him with speed. Jin So-eun seized an opening and slashed down at Jeon Mo-kyun, but his attack was blocked head-on. In the next instant, Jeon Mo-kyun unleashed his strength and sent Jin So-eun flying back. Then, he gripped his heavy sword with both hands and brought it crashing down toward Jin So-eun. The terrifying strike smashed into the ground and shattered the entire surface beneath them. Jeon Mo-kyun sneered. Looks like the rumors were true. Taeil sect really has fallen this far. In the arena, Jin So-eun's whole body throbbed from the force of that last strike. Jeon Mo-kyun sneered. You people should know your place. With Taeil sect's current strength, you don't deserve to remain in the Baekpal Peaks. Facing Jeon Mo-kyun's mockery, Jin So-eun tightened his grip on his sword and charged again. Damn it, this guy's raw strength was insane. As Jeon Mo-kyun swung his sword, he continued, let me tell you something. 20 years ago, there was another man just like you, also from Taeil sect. He dared to insult the Iron Sword sect and challenged my father to a duel. Naturally, he lost, and he paid a terrible price. There wasn't a single clean patch of skin left on his body. That man was your father, Jin Tae-san. Hearing that, Jin So-eun suddenly froze. Was this why his father had seemed so strange these past few days? In that split second of distraction, Jeon Mo-kyun kicked him hard and sent him flying. But when Jeon Mo-kyun saw Jin So-eun stand back up again, he continued mocking him. You really are just like your father. Stupid to the core. But Jin So-eun knew very well that even if he swallowed this humiliation and apologized, the same disgraceful history would only repeat itself. So this time, he would make everyone see that Taeil sect was not some weak sect they could trample on whenever they pleased. The moment Jeon Mo-kyun swung his sword down, Jin So-eun bent low and dodged the strike with perfect precision. Jeon Mo-kyun's expression changed. He could not believe his attack had missed. At that moment, Jin So-eun seemed like a completely different person. No matter how Jeon Mo-kyun attacked, Jin So-eun dodged every move perfectly. That was because the knowledge library inside Jin So-eun's mind had already memorized every single one of his opponent's techniques. This was the power of a perfect memory holder. Sochon Sword Art, First Form. Jin So-eun swung his sword, and the slashes landed one after another across Jeon Mo-kyun's body. Jeon Mo-kyun's eyes widened in disbelief. What the hell is going on? How did this guy suddenly get stronger? Jin So-eun looked at him and burst into laughter. So this is all the Iron Sword sect has? But unexpectedly, even after taking Jin So-eun's strike head-on, Jeon Mo-kyun still managed to stand back up. He raised his heavy sword and swung it down at him again. The terrifying force of the attack even swept toward the guests watching nearby. The crowd's expressions changed. That's way too powerful. If we get any closer, we might get caught in it too. But even against such a violent assault, Jin So-eun dodged with ease. The moment Jeon Mo-kyun raised his sword and struck again, Jin So-eun leapt in with one clean slash and knocked the heavy sword aside. Facing Jin So-eun's counterattack, Jeon Mo-kyun was forced onto the defensive. Everyone could see it now. Jeon Mo-kyun was being completely suppressed. Seated above, Iron Sword sect master Jung Tae-nak watched the scene in disbelief. What in the world was happening? Jegal So-myeon, however, saw through it. It seems Taeil sect's swordsmanship is sharper than expected. More importantly, the gap in their real combat experience is enormous. This was a twisted fate that had carried over from Jin So-eun's previous life. Jin So-eun knew that simply winning this duel would not be enough to cut off this long-standing chain of resentment. In that case, he had no choice but to use another method. With that thought, Jin So-eun suddenly closed the distance and stepped right in front of Jeon Mo-kyun. Then he quietly activated the absorption ability of the Chongron Ring. The moment Jeon Mo-kyun swung his sword down again, Jin So-eun only gave a light swing of his own sword. Yet that single strike sent Jeon Mo-kyun's heavy sword flying from his hands. Seeing this, everyone around them stared in disbelief. The Blood Wolf Iron Sword, famous for his strength, had lost his weapon in a direct clash. For him, this was utter humiliation. Jeon Mo-kyun, now completely losing his reason, roared and charged again. But at this point, he was no longer Jin So-eun's match at all. Jin So-eun simply swept his foot out and tripped him straight to the ground. To everyone watching, The duel had already lost all suspense. But Jang Mok-hyun refused to accept it. Again and again, he forced himself back up and attacked Jin So-eun. Facing his final struggle, Jin So-eun knocked the iron sword from his hand once more with a single slash. Jang Mok-hyun could not believe this was the result. But his trembling arms told him clearly that all of it was real. At last, he realized something was wrong. His inner energy was draining away rapidly, which was why he could no longer execute his techniques properly. How was this possible? He had absorbed all kinds of precious spiritual pills from the Iron Sword sect. How could he be completely suppressed in inner energy by Jin So-eun? Something was definitely wrong. Could it be that when this guy touched him earlier, he had secretly done something? Jang Mok-hyun suddenly understood. After dodging Jin So-eun's attack, he shouted, "You bastard, you dared to use an evil art. The Murim Alliance banned that technique long ago, yet you dared to use it openly here. You must be a spy from the demonic cult. Someone seize him immediately." Jang Mok-hyun quickly reported his discovery to Jung Chun-ak. "Grandfather, there is no mistake. I clearly felt it. This man definitely used the legendary star-absorbing art just now." The moment those words were spoken, everyone around them was shocked. After all, the star-absorbing art had once been the most terrifying martial art of a great demon. It could absorb another person's inner energy and strengthen the user. A harmful, evil art like that should never appear here. Anyone caught using such a forbidden technique would be severely punished by the Murim Alliance. But, on the other hand, if the accusation turned out to be false, the accuser would face an even harsher punishment. And now, those words had come from the mouth of the Iron Sword sect master's own grandson. At this moment, Jang Mok-hyun was probably more nervous than anyone else. Seeing Iron Sword sect master Jung Chun-ak personally step down from his seat, Jin So-eun immediately shot back. "Not only did you insult Tail's sect, but now that I've beaten you, you're trying to frame me with such a despicable trick. Star-absorbing art? If you're gonna frame me, couldn't you come up with a more believable excuse? In my opinion, the Iron Sword sect is the one that has no right to enter the Baekpal Peaks." Jaegal So-myung, who had originally planned to mediate, heard this and decided to keep watching for now. Jin So-eun's words instantly made the crowd understand another possibility. The Iron Sword sect had failed to enter the Baekpal Peaks, so jealousy had driven them to this. In other words, the Iron Sword sect was now damaging its own reputation. Hearing the whispers around him, Jang Mok-hyun grew even more unwilling to back down. "Grandfather, please believe me. During the duel, I clearly felt my inner energy draining away several times. That has to be because of the star-absorbing art. If the investigation proves that I framed him, I am willing to accept the punishment." Jung Chun-ak fell silent for a moment, then sighed. "This duel ends here." Jin So-eun questioned him coldly. "On what grounds? The winner has already been decided. What right do you have to stop the duel now?" Jung Chun-ak's gaze turned icy. "Because you used an evil art. Once I inspect your body, I will report this to the Murim Alliance. When that happens, neither you nor Tail's sect will escape responsibility." At that moment, Jin So-eun suddenly shouted toward his father. "Father, please forgive your unfilial son. For the honor of my sect, which matters more than my life, I am willing to offer my life once again. Lord Jang Chae-sok of Kwaewal Hall. If I die here today, I beg you not to let anyone touch my body before the Murim Alliance Enforcement Pavilion arrives. I, Jin So-eun of Tail's sect, will expose the Iron Sword sect's scheme and protect my sect's honor. Today, with the resolve to die, I challenge the Iron Sword sect master once again." Hearing that, everyone was stunned. Was this kid really throwing his life away? The angriest one was, of course, Jung Chun-ak. "You little brat, do you really think I don't dare kill you?" In the next instant, a terrifying surge of inner energy erupted, blasting so fiercely that the crowd could barely keep their eyes open. But right then, Jin Tae-san and Jung Chae-sok rushed forward at the same time, blocking Jin So-eun from the front. Jin Tae-san barked, "You damn brat, who taught you to talk like an adult here? Get back right now. What kind of father hides behind his own son?" But by now, Jung Chun-ak no longer cared. He was ready to take down all three of them by himself. Just as the tension reached its peak, a cold voice suddenly rang out. "Stop. Put away your weapons." Under the pressure of Murim Alliance chief strategist Jaegal So-myung, everyone had no choice but to lower their weapons. Everyone except Jin So-eun. He said in a low voice, "My apologies, but I cannot obey." The Iron Sword sect used a duel as an excuse to humiliate Tail's sect. Then, after losing, They accused me of using an evil art to threaten and force us into submission. May I ask, Chief Strategist, what were you doing when all of that happened? How am I supposed to trust a chief strategist like that? Hearing that, Morim Alliance Chief Strategist Jegal Somyeon did not get angry. Instead, he slowly stepped down from the platform. He spoke calmly. As the Chief Strategist, I represent the Morim Alliance. I am curious. After pushing things this far, what exactly do you want? Unexpectedly, Jin So-eun turned his gaze toward Iron Sword Sect Master, Jung Chun-ak. Then he said, word by word, what I want is the Iron Sword Sect Master's head. Hearing that, a flicker of interest flashed through Jegal Somyeon's eyes. This child had real nerve. He actually dared to say something like that out loud. If the two of them truly fought, the result was obvious. Jin So-eun would lose without question. But if Jin So-eun died in that duel, the Iron Sword Sect would become villains who bullied the weak. That disgrace would become a permanent stain on their name, possibly even pushing the sect down a path of ruin. Interesting. Very interesting. In that case, Jegal Somyeon decided to give this child a little help. With that thought, he turned to Jung Chun-ak. Since you suspect him of using an evil art, what are you willing to put on the line? Jung Chun-ak said in a low voice, eradicating evil arts is our duty. But since the chief strategist has spoken, I will take responsibility with my sword. Jegal Somyeon smiled faintly. With your sword? Then how about staking your divine weapon? The so-called divine weapon was the ninefold sword, passed down through generations of the Iron Sword Sect and regarded as the symbol of the entire sect. Naturally, the people of the Iron Sword Sect immediately objected, but Jegal Somyeon continued. What I mean is an examination, not truly using your sect's treasure as a wager. There is no need to make this so complicated. If the sect master's accusation is true, we simply need to inspect the boy's dantian. Or does the sect master lack confidence? Could it be, as Taedo's sect claims, that you are trying to use the authority granted by the Morim Alliance to commit a despicable act? With things already said this clearly, Jung Chun-ak had no room left to refuse. After getting Jin So-eun's consent, Jegal Somyeon walked up to him and began personally examining his dantian. As Jegal Somyeon slowly sent true chi into Jin So-eun's body, a dazzling white light suddenly lit up across the arena. The star-absorbing art was an evil technique that absorbed another person's inner energy. Anyone who practiced it would inevitably have foreign true chi stored inside their dantian. When Jegal Somyeon finished the examination, everyone around them held their breath in tension. A moment later, he said slowly, after my examination, this child has not practiced the star-absorbing art. The moment those words were spoken, everyone was stunned. The one who could not accept the result most was Jung Mul-kyun. Impossible. I clearly felt my inner energy being drained. Jung Chun-ak still refused to accept it. He suddenly stepped forward and grabbed Jin So-eun's hand, intending to inspect him personally. But unlike Jegal Somyeon, he was not gentle at all. He violently forced his true ki into Jin So-eun's body. That brutal true chi rampaged wildly through Jin So-eun's meridians. The intense pain made Jin So-eun cough up blood on the spot. When Jung Chun-ak finally released his hand, Jin So-eun collapsed straight to the ground. Jung Chun-ak was shocked and furious. Damn it, this brat really had not practiced the star-absorbing art? How was that possible? Beside him, Jegal Somyeon's expression turned completely cold. Sect Master, what exactly are you doing? Do you not trust me? Or do you not trust the Morim Alliance? At that moment, Jin So-eun, covered in blood, forced himself up from the ground. Iron Sword Sect Master, it is time for you to apologize for your despicable conduct. You and your grandson must pay the proper price for everything you have done. After saying those final words, Jin So-eun could no longer hold on and collapsed unconscious. Seeing this, Jegal Somyeon said angrily, Sect Master, please honor your promise. When Jin So-eun opened his eyes again, he found himself lying on a bed. A voice sounded beside him. You're finally awake. So, is this little performance over now?